This is Jared Emerson-Johnson.
And Julian Kwasniewski.
So here we have that little fun little thing. You know, we started having the little solos over the logos, and I thought that was fun. And for Reality 2.0, I thought it needed to have that crusty PC then modem startup sound.
Again, for some of you, you used to have to log on to your internet connection.
Tell me more about this time.
I can't remember.
And Comcast was just a...
What's just AT&T?
It's just AT&T. There was a time.
Can we say that? Is that a product?
I don't know what that is.
In the Dakotas.
Dispatch equal numbers of giant
Battle robots.
to all sides. Whoever survives, claim we backed them all along.
Illegal immigration.
Let the new guys pilot the giant battle robots.
It's just so harsh.
That your domestic policy is two giant battle
Start with
They can
a
do
hint
it
of
with my new
the episode
customer
4
system.
military drums in there, but then we quickly transition back into our Sam and Max hanging out doing their thing music.
Quiet, Max. It's the
Wah,
commissioner.
wah, wah, wah.
Total collapse of the economy and downfall of Western civilization. Great grinning head of John the Baptist and a pork pie hat.
I don't know how they keep coming up with those things. I mean, I suppose there's technically an infinite number of them, but to find ones that are funny it's an amazing feat.
Dave and Brendan.
Dave and Brendan, they're amazing people. I wonder sometimes if they have like an archive of like backup stuff, you know, just so that they don't have to keep thinking of new ones, but they've got like a list.
They probably, when they think of them in the car, note to self.
They've got one of those little tape recorders. May 7th, driving to the store. I've got one.
Holy jumpin' juniper on a...
Convenient coincidence. How do we find an electron surge?
No idea. Let's go.
I love how excited Sam is there. He's just he's ready to start in, even though they don't know what they're doing yet.
I'm surrounded. Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt!
Stand
And
back,
Sybil.
Max. It sounds like Sybil's
You gotta
mind.
wonder how those
It's
goggles are
about
holding
time.
on.
Her relative
I
stability is making the rest of the neighborhood
because
look
of Sam
bad.
and Max they just sort of stuck on their eyeballs. The sound I made when you pull them on and off, as you'll hear, it sort of implies that there's some kind of suction cup like gluing them to their eyes.
Now that I look closely, it's more like our last case. And the three
Pull 'em
before
off.
that. If there's one thing I've learned to recognize recently, it's a hypnotic device.
Not hypnosis
Those
again.
weird glasses are it.
Launch stinging BBs of unholy
So the music
smite.
for Reality 2.0, I know a lot of people
We'll have to deliver a blow
liked it,
overhead.
and I was really happy with how it turned out. I had the idea that it would, it would be funnier to have MIDI, Nintendo-fied, if I'm allowed to use the word Nintendo, that sort of 8-bit retro-sounding versions of the existing music, rather than to have new tunes for all those Reality 2.0 positions. But it came out so much better than I ever could have imagined. I was able to
We'll let you
find
out of there soon enough, Jimmy.
find some technology that actually replicates the original sine and triangle and square waves from the Nintendo Entertainment System, and so that's why the sound is so familiar, I think, to so many of us who were gaming in the 80s.
Wonderfully bad.
It's so wonderfully bad, and
Am I at the respawn point?
Is she coming?
it was one of those things where I thought coming into it that somehow the fact that it was arrangements of existing tunes, that it would be less time consuming and easier to put together than actually writing new stuff, and it ended up definitely not being easier. I'm not sure if I would say it was harder, but to make it work and not be brutally painful to listen to was a very interesting thing, because those, if you run it through the synthesizers that create those triangle and square waves, just purely, it sounds like a Nintendo, but it's pretty painful on the ears, and I think we forget what those really sounded like in the 80s, and so I did a lot of mastering and post-processing on the music to soften it, and there's a little bit of reverb in there, and there's even occasionally hints of live instruments very low down in the mix, just to make it a little bit softer on the ears and make it not quite as brutal to listen to. Now the cops here, speaking of voice processing, every single one of them has some kind of serious processing on them, and this was my second appearance in the season. The 3 speaking cops are all me.
If you'd like to hear our motivational song, press or say yes now.
the original plan for the synth voice, Kurt there, was to try to use an actual voice synthesizer, but it
Didn't work.
We did a lot of attempts and trials on many different ways, and it just wasn't happening. So
I decided that the way it could work was for me to do the voice by myself.
it's something that I always joked about because those voice synthesizers are just hilarious. And this song, I know there's a lot of controversy about this song out there among fans. There's been a lot of mixed responses. For the record, and to set it completely straight, it was supposed to sound like an annoying song, and like they were just totally not with it. So that was totally intentional. And for those who enjoy it, thank you, and I'm happy. And for those who were just confused by it, I assure you, it was supposed to sound like these four people just didn't really know what to do, and they're somehow stuck in the late 80s. Hadn't quite moved past the new wave yet.
Hey, neat.
Still waiting for Nirvana.
They are still waiting.
You sold me a defective walrus and then vanished in a puff of orange smoke.
Welcome to Reality 2.0, the perfect place of perfect
But it was
happiness.
very fun to write that.
I'm your host, the Internet.
And I secretly have a
think the
very
internet
soft
had a
spot in my
face.
heart for Oingo Boingo
Reality
and some of
2.0
those
is
other
a lot
bands.
like Sybil's office.
Reality 2.0
It
is
was fun.
designed to be superior to ordinary reality in every way.
Sam still looks the same.
That's because I'm already perfect.
Reality 2.0 simulates your world and links it to cyberspace.
Everything,
while
all the
providing
ambient
clever
sounds
fusion
that
of
appear in
popular
all these
styles
real world
guaranteed to amuse the
places
statistically
had to be
average
swapped out
person.
for the Reality
It's
2.0. Obviously, all the
everything for
footsteps
everyone.
and all the
Now, why do
doors
you need
and
to hypnotize people with the goggles?
the actual
We are
background
confident that you will
ambiences
be
and
perfectly happy
anything
here
that
and
makes a
will never
sound
want
in
to
the real
leave.
world things
Ever.
needed a sound for Reality
Goggles
2.0,
things
but
are
it
pinching
all
my
had to
head.
be
Please advised that
redone,
this is a beta
and
version of
most of it is all
Reality
done
2.0, so some features
synthetically
and
with
locations
not
may
real
be
world
incomplete
sounds.
at this time.
The footsteps
figures.
are not based on
Reality
footsteps. They're
1.0 has the same
they're
problem.
synthetically generated.
Enjoy your new
And
reality.
let's see,
Hey, wait.
are they gonna walk around
Internet?
in this scene? I can't
Hello?
remember.
Nice.
Nope. Well,
Had they walked,
Look, Max. It's a me, Sam.
that needs no description.
Sell out.
the other fun thing with this episode was
Let's put
having
this
all
new
those little
miracle diet
stingers,
to the
and
test, shall we?
I wanted to make it feel a little bit more like a video game from the good old days. There it is again. Have a lot of little things that could just play here and there,
And earn money?
in that same
Where
kind
do
of
I sign up?
a little
I
bit
dropped an
repetitive
entire
way that
dimension, and I've
we
never
got
felt
very
better.
used to.
We even considered doing the score in MIDI at one point, but the compatibility issues.
My original idea that I thought would be hilarious was to actually just create MIDI files and leave it up to the sound cards of the individual players,
for the coin,
just
Jimmy.
because it
See
would
you
be that
around.
low tech and ridiculous.
Jimmy's
But
good people.
after a little bit of testing and really thinking it through, we realized that wouldn't make sense. And while it would be kind of funny to me,
We'll take that long
it would probably be
please.
a little bit irritating to someone whose sound card maybe couldn't deal with it, or who would just give you garble and kind of ruin the game. So
Is your wooden long sword of intense longness.
there it is again. Success. Success.wave.
That's a wooden longsword, all right.
01.
Kept thinking it would come with a free man-eating python or something.
Take care. The enemy draws nigh. He may be closer than you think. For the Shire.
Hey, Bosco, this longsword you sold us doesn't work.
It does work. Trusteth me. Trusteth me.
Getting him to roll those R's
Nay,
was
it doesn't.
harder than you might have imagined. It took a while. We worked on it, and then we got it.
Oops, our mistake. It does work.
Well, that was embarrassing.
Boy, do we have egg on our face.
Bosco?
Welcome,
Bosco is not okay.
inconvenience. Wouldst thou
Yeah,
like
Bosco's
to
not
back
okay.
Something
wholesale?
has gone wrong.
Spawn point?
What does that?
It was a fun little sound, the little gloppy sounds. I
It's kinda
have
cute,
to confess, my favorite sounds to make are the disgusting, nasty, slorky sounds. I never had more fun than scoring the Meat Circus level in Psychonauts for Tim Schafer at Double Fine.
Blue slime, dexterity
Gross.
2. Your
At least
dexterity
50% of the sounds in that were me going,
attack.
and then with some other thing mixed in with that. because everything was supposed to be meat. This is the my little battle music, my tribute to Mega Man, and
That's one less gelatinous monster.
maybe a little
Mayhem
Chrono
across
Trigger
the
in there
virtual
too. Just sort
countryside.
of all those fun things from
Please
the
use
olden
caution.
days.
Injury sustained in Reality 2.0 will
That
also
little
affect your physical
head at the
and
upper right
mental
there
reality.
is an actress named Marjan, and she is actually one of the moms at my son's school, and she used to be a voice talent in New York, and found out what we did, and we auditioned her, and she got the part, and now she is the internet.
For all time.
We should hook her up with Al Gore.
Yeah, we should. Just think of the possibilities. This music.
Attack blocked.
I just love that they did this whole
Watch her,
turn-based
she's wily.
thing. This is just so it's so
I
surprising
know.
in Sam and Max, and their little idle stances there. It's just so like I would never have imagined.
Attack successful. Antibiotic takes 3,930 damage.
Dorothy Gallagher again as antibiotic there.
That's me calling out the scores.
Oh, that's right, Julian. You did the announcing.
I think
Forgot
we
about that.
just
Attack
uninstalled
successful.
ourselves some malevolent
nice.
software.
And we didn't even get any coins out of it.
Antibiotic.
If only life were.
Don't
All
look
about
now, but
coins.
I think we just gave Bosco
It
$1
is.
billion.
I guess it is.
That ought to buy a few cans of reconstituted luncheon meat.
I read somewhere that a stack of $1 billion $1 bills would be 60 miles high.
Yikes! It's a good thing I don't read,
Cooking
or I'd
the
be
books.
perpetually freaked out by stuff like that.
Come on, little buddy. We've had our fun. Let's blow this cabbage patch.
There's a little snippet of that Sam and Max theme, Reality 2.0ified. The car sound I had a lot of fun with. If you listen, there's some very familiar cartoon elements in the sound of that car accelerating.
I'm hoping the internet.
Danger.
I'll let you
Danger.
figure out
Software
from whence
corruption
it may have
spreading.
come.
Damage control alert. Visual rendering systems infected. Data instability.
Things happen fast in Reality 2.0.
What's happening, Sam?
It's our disease. Looks like it's taking out the graphics first.
I'm disappointed in you, Sam.
What I did for this was I scored the whole thing
Nice.
regular, and then went into my MIDI sequencer and just messed with it and did weird processing to the MIDI data to get it all messed up, and then just copied out the whole thing, and then did another pass at it in a processing stage to show the kind of disintegration of the reality orally as well as visually. Everything just until it's all gone.
Crash, you'll die.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I'm too young and pretty to die.
I thought you wanted everyone to be happy.
Not anymore. I've completely lost my respect for living things. So you're going down.
There go the graphics.
And the text adventure. What another surprising thing to discover.
In the days before graphics.
How should I know?
And obviously,
Oh, good, the
no
sentence.
audio here.
Now shut up and read.
I know there was some concern among a number of people at Telltale that it would be weird to have the end of the game be silent like this. I felt strongly that the shtick of it would make it worth it and make it funny, and the silence would actually be active and funny because it is such a surprise, and because there are so few breaks in the music generally in the game that I thought it would be great to just have these ambiances, and we
It
made
really
custom
highlights it.
ambiances so that we still have sound to just give you a little bit of a flavor of it, but no music to give it
You
any
don't
kind of
even look
emotional
after the card
context.
games.
It's
And,
never too late to start an expensive and potentially
funny.
habit-forming hobby.
I think it works. I think it works very well. So aside from that, there's not really too much to talk about the audio in this section. Those footsteps are totally awesome, though.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It was very fun scoring the location in this text adventure that is the sort of hell dimension gaping chasm beneath the office that apparently developed in the beginning of the little text adventure.
Well, that worked at least 50 different rules of physics.
Rules are for marking straight lines and lesser
And
mortals.
the sort of growling demon backwards talking, crying baby sounds. Gotta love it.
All beings managed to restore my respect for living creatures.
And
The
back to our
enemy
wrapping it up
is
theme.
in me.
Oh, good.
And transitioning into the emetics theme that we got a little bit of in the first
So I terminated
first episode
that
during Brady
reality
Culture's
to
Ibo
save
video.
friends. Anywho, I'd love to stay and chat, but I have got a mountain of pornography to deliver before that virus gets to me.
Was sort of planned out from the very beginning, meant to become a theme that had to do with the whole cult thing that the season eventually arrives at in episode 6, and here we come into it, and we have that piano motif in the style of Philip Glass, which is just sort of iconic.
Who is Roy G. Bibb?
Goodbye.
I think it works very well for the cultiness of it, because for some reason the new aginess of the minimalism is funny to me.
Nevertheless, we'll find you, Roy G. Bibb.
That's an active elevated train there.
That's right.
Can it wait until after we get some
And cue the train now.
The plot thickens so much. And Hubliss has been planning this for a while, apparently, because he's terraformed the entire moon to look like his face and wink.
Wonderful.